So when I say that I am happier living in the Philippines, it's not because of some romanticized idea of Southeast Asia. Rather, it's because the Philippines allowed me to step out of a rat race that was slowly chipping away at my soul. You see, before moving to the Philippines, I lived in Los Angeles and used to think burnout was just a buzzword, something people said when they needed a vacation. In LA, exhaustion felt normal. My life was a blur of back-to-back client calls, freeway gridlock, and a constant pressure to stay ahead. I woke up to the buzz of notifications and fell asleep to the glow of unfinished emails. But things took a turn for the worse when my body sounded the alarm. My career was on an upward trajectory. I was making moves and climbing the ladder, which is why it came as a shock when a simple commute turned into a full-blown panic attack. I was sitting in traffic on the 405, inching toward another 12-hour day when my heart began to race so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. Within minutes, my hands were shaking, my vision blurred, and all I could think about was getting home. The doctor called it anxiety. I called it a warning. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the ceiling and did something I had long avoided: admit the truth. I was miserable. Los Angeles offered endless opportunities but no room to breathe. Rent devoured my salary. Evenings were spent fighting freeway traffic instead of pursuing hobbies, and the relentless grind left me empty. I wondered, is this it? Is the American dream supposed to feel like a nightmare? Looking back, I can pinpoint moments when stress morphed into something sinister. My first year out of college was marked by long hours and countless cups of coffee. Then came the constant pressure to outperform, to win, to be the best. Every achievement brought a new challenge, pushing me further. Before I knew it, I was a well-oiled machine running on ambition and caffeine. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Tiny habits started to form, biting my nails, pacing when on the phone, holding my breath while stuck in traffic. These weren't conscious choices. They were my body's silent revolt against the system. And when the panic attack struck, I realized I was standing on the edge of a precipice. Los Angeles had become my biggest enemy. It wasn't just about the superficial trappings of success. It was about the toll it was taking on my mental and physical health. So that's when I decided to make a change. I began scouring the internet for alternatives. I researched remote work policies, average salaries, and quality of life. And that's when I stumbled upon the Philippines. The more I learned about it, the more intrigued I became. The country boasted high-speed internet, a thriving digital nomad scene, and a cost of living that was a fraction of what I was accustomed to in LA. But the deciding factor was its reputation for hospitality. Stories of close-knit communities and warm locals resonated with me deeply. The idea of belonging somewhere, of being more than a face in the crowd, that mattered more than anything else. I spent weeks researching visa requirements, neighborhoods, and cultural norms. As the trip date neared, excitement warred with fear. Leaving everything familiar behind was daunting, but the prospect of a fresh start outweighed the risks. Saying goodbye to friends and family was one of the hardest parts. Explaining my reasons for leaving was a challenge. Some questioned my motives, others expressed concerns. But I was resolute. This move wasn't a hasty decision. It was the culmination of years of contemplation. My parents surprised me with their unwavering support. When I told them, I'm moving to the Philippines, my dad asked practical questions about logistics. While my mom simply hugged me, her eyes glistening with tears, my friends were less enthusiastic. At a casual lunch, I broke the news. To my surprise, the conversation quickly shifted to the rising cost of avocados in LA. Clearly, they didn't understand my reasons for leaving. They had everything: the job, the apartment, the social life. Why would I want to move away? But their confusion only reinforced my determination. The final blow came when my boss, someone who had always championed my work, looked genuinely shocked. We were in his office, the walls lined with accolades and awards. He listened patiently, but when I said I was leaving, his composed demeanor faltered slightly. "Are you sure?" he asked, clearly taken aback. "We can talk about it." I appreciated the offer, but there was nothing to discuss. My mind was made up. Resigning from my plush office job, selling my prized possessions, and saying goodbye to the City of Angels was a bold move. But I was ready. The terror mixed with exhilaration as I boarded the plane with a single backpack and my laptop. Manila welcomed me with a humid embrace. It was chaotic, vibrant, and pulsating with a different kind of energy. Compared to the cutthroat competitiveness of Los Angeles, the atmosphere was a stark contrast. I began with cautious optimism, renting a modest apartment in the city. Adjusting to a new environment takes time, but the transition was surprisingly smooth. The warmth of the Filipino people, their infectious smiles and willingness to help made me feel at home instantly. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, though. Navigating a new city with unfamiliar customs and occasional bouts of homesickness were part of the journey. There were moments when I missed the conveniences of LA, the comforting familiarity of my old neighborhood. And then there were times when loneliness crept in, a stark reminder that I was thousands of miles away from my support system. Those moments were tough, but they were also pivotal. They forced me to step out of my comfort zone, to explore new places, to engage with locals, and to forge new connections. One weekend, driven by curiosity, I decided to venture out to the nearby province of Oriental Mindoro. The journey took me to a coastal town called Puerto Galera, a place known for its pristine beaches and laid-back vibe. Renting a small nipa hut right by the sea, my days were filled with swimming in the crystal-clear waters, and my evenings were spent watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. The pace was slower here, the air was cleaner. The sound of waves crashing was my constant companion. I started sketching again, not for a client, not for a deadline, but for the pure joy of it. I found myself falling in love with this small corner of the Philippines. The people here were incredibly warm and welcoming. I spent evenings playing cards with a group of local fishermen, sharing stories and laughter that echoed long after the sun dipped below the horizon. Mornings were spent sipping freshly brewed Barako coffee while watching out for the sunrise. I reveled in the simplicity of it all. I began to notice changes within myself. The persistent migraines that had plagued me for years seemed to vanish. My sleep came easily and deeply. I started laughing more, not because of anything particularly funny, but because it felt good. The incessant anxiety that had been my shadow no longer followed me. As months went by, I continued to explore the Philippines. I trekked through rice paddies in Banaue, marveled at the chocolate hills in Bohol, and witnessed the majestic Mayan volcano in Albay. Each journey added a new chapter to my story, a story that was no longer about professional triumphs, but about personal growth and contentment. I delved deeper into local traditions, celebrated fiestas with newfound friends, and even tried my hand at cooking adobo, a beloved Filipino dish. One of the most significant shifts was in my approach to work. Back in LA, work had been all-consuming. I'd often put in 14-hour days, sacrificing personal life for professional gain. But here, with the ocean breeze caressing my skin, I found a new perspective. I designed my days around the rhythm of the surroundings. I would work intensely for 3 to 4 hours, ensuring I met my deadlines, then leave the rest of the day open to explore. Surprisingly, this change in approach led to a surge in creativity. I found myself coming up with innovative ideas that set me apart from my LA counterparts. It was as if the tranquility of the environment was seeping into my work, enhancing it in ways I'd never imagined. In the midst of all this personal transformation, I occasionally returned to LA to check in on my old life. Each visit highlighted the stark contrast between my two worlds. Walking through the bustling streets of my old neighborhood, I saw the same sights, but they seemed alien. The constant honking, the hurried footsteps, the stressed faces. It was a world I'd left behind, yet it was still so familiar. My friends were caught in their own rat races, juggling demanding jobs, social commitments, and rising living costs. Many of them had dreams of escaping, but they were anchored by responsibilities, by mortgages, and by the fear of starting over. I understood their predicament. I too had obligations, but I'd chosen to prioritize my well-being. Looking back, I realized the move to the Philippines was the best decision I ever made. It wasn't about escaping the West. It was about embracing a different way of life, a life that valued peace, community, and balance. Yes, there are challenges, the occasional typhoon, the visa hassles, the times when I miss a good sushi or a Mexican taco. But these are minor inconveniences in the grand scheme of things. Life here is rich in experiences that matter. A quick stroll down the market, a lively chat with neighbors, the feeling of warm sand between my toes. These are the moments that enrich my life. The Philippines didn't fix me. It gave me space to fix myself. It offered community where I once had competition, presence where I once had pressure, time where I once had none. I may not stay here forever, but I know this. I will never return to the frantic chase that once passed for living. I have discovered a different way, and it is enough.